Hey guys. Um, let's see, where do I begin? Uh, First of all, hello, and in the spirit of positive energy and good sportsmanship and all that stuff, in this video, we won't be bad-mouthing any other brands or any other quadcopters that we may be satisfied or dissatisfied with. There's no need to name names, you know, and so we won't say anybody's name that we have animosity against. MJX Bugs 3. And so anyway, this is the what's left of the ASShat, and that was the one that had the canopy of some other quad, MJX Bugs 3. And yeah, and we went from loving that quad to thinking it was a piece of shit, but we won't name the name of it. Bugs 3. So anyway, these are weights, and if you've seen the other video, you know that the ASShat, the thing that was wearing the ass of the Bugs 3, it crashed. It crashed after having a what I consider to be a really nice, impressive flight. I think I bit my eye back, a sore on my tongue. If I talk funny, that's just because I was sore on my tongue. And Bugs 3 is shit. Anyway, yeah, so there was a crash, and upon inspection of the crash, I mentioned that it was the builder's fault, my fault. The motors did not give out. They didn't seize. A motor actually tore away from the threading that's on the adapter. And I'm going to take this off my head just to give you a closer look at that. Just for a minute. The adapter, there it goes there. That tears out. Don't do that. Kids, grown-ups, screw the adapter. You see the thing on the bottom? That's a spacer. That's a spacer that good old Mad Dog made for us. Do that if you have to ride your thing. The spacer, good idea. The metal thing and the adapter, not a good idea. So, this thing took a lot of damage. Okay? Pardon me for the warpy close-up. But XK, the manufacturer of these particular units, you know, props to them, because I don't know how many crashes I've had with this thing, and guess what? It works. This time I thought it was going to be a complete loss because the copper antenna that sticks up out of the XK x350, this time I finally had a crash that broke off that antenna. It just had a little piece of copper sticking out. I'd say maybe not even 2 millimeters sticking out, and that was it. The little spring part, if you know, it goes up to a spring, it coils, then it comes out the little straight little rod. Well, the spring part was completely gone. Just that little piece was left. So I tried to kit bash and look for an antennas, because I remember having some pieces of board left, like from JYU Hornet, but actually I call that DIY Hornet because it stands for do it yourself, because if you get a Hornet, DIY, and you'll find out. Anyway, still doesn't suck as much as like MJX Bugs 3, but we're not talking about that. And um, I needed an antenna, man, to try to salvage this, and I couldn't find the Hornet pieces. So what I did find was an old controller for the it was a controller for the GPS Hubsan. You know how the Hubsan has the H501S, and that's the GPS Hubsan with the FPV monitor and all that. But they also had another 501 something, and it was basically the same bird with a camera, but it had no FPV and it had a smaller controller. Yeah, that one. You guys remember that one? Okay, that controller. I ran across that controller and I opened it up and I took the antenna out of that controller. It was connected to with one of them little Apex connector, or what are those little, I forgot how, what the little things and little plugs, kind of like, you know, the Hubsan plug that used to be in the 501S controllers, a little plug. Okay, and I took that out last night, and I spliced it with a razor blade, and I might have did it too long. I don't know if I did it right, and I need some magnifying goggles very bad, because I actually tried to fabricate, I'm gonna laugh at this, I actually tried to fabricate these little monocles. I found this was at the 99-cent store, some kind of deal. You clip it onto your glasses, and the theory is you should be able to flip it down in front of your glasses. I don't know if you see this because I'm wearing it on my head, you know. But the theory is you flip it down, and you know the monocle is supposed to be like a magnifying glass. And well, you know, mine's 99-cent store, of course. It's now in pieces. It actually had two, but I'm kind of digging the theory because, you know, going in and out of, I need some magnifying goggles, man. So I fabricated some kind of way with some tape and a little glue with this one and had it flipped down. And it gave me just enough visual to try to solder that. But it was very, very scary because I have to get so close to it to focus. And even though I'm wearing glasses, I'm still very much aware that, okay, my eyes are dangerously close to some stuff that's about to start popping and smoldering and giving off noxious fumes. And so it's like, you know, dang, dude. But I did my best to get just a little tiny solder on the antenna from the Hubsan controller and a little bit on that copper thing. And from what I understand, certain metals aren't compatible, because that's copper, and that little antenna mass seemed to be some kind of like steel or something. But anyway, I thought I successfully soldered a little piece of each thing together. And to make sure of it, I put a little double-sided tape on part of the board to lay the antenna down on the double-sided tape, and then I put a little plastic under the antenna wire so it doesn't go anywhere, and I put some glue on that, thinking that if this works, I don't want the wind or whatever to ever pull this up to get it in the way of the blades. And yeah, remember, this did have bullnose props, but that didn't survive the crash. And I was always curious about putting these blades on because I'm a very, very fond of the long blades on my 330 rat rod. Those blades are very long. They almost touch as they rotate. And like I said before, I don't know what I'm violating aeronautically by doing that, but I like to ride. So we want to try that again. Anyway, this antenna I didn't know if it would work. I know the motors work and the ESCs work, and I had to put an indicator light on it. But if it did work, I'm still not gonna fly it until I take these motors off and use 2 of Chris's risers with no adapter and just some long hex head screws, the way it should have been done in the first place. So no ripping, no tearing. So I'm not even going to hover this until I know I changed those. But first I needed to know, how is this antenna going to react to the controller, and what's my range going to be like. So I took it out in the street and I put some weights over it just in case it was to somehow just go wild and give itself, 100% throttle and not, in case it were to lose control or anything. I put these weights on it because the object was not to fly it, but just to see how it reacts to the transmitter and what kind of range are we talking. So I put it on top of a trash can and I turned it on and it worked. It bound, it received the signal, it turned on, and it turned off. So I put the weights on it and I got in my car and I drove up to the end of my block and I kept turning on my controller and turning it off, and the green light was reacting to my controller. So I turned the trash can, because it was sitting on top of a trash can. I turned the trash can around and drove up the street in the other direction as far as I could, line of sight. And it responded to the controller. So I'm thinking, okay, maybe it's a fluke because it's sitting on top of the trash can. I drove the quad up to the other end of my street as far as I could in terms of having a visual on it, and I put it down in the middle of the street and put my weights on it in case it were to ever, try to take off or whatever. And I drove to the other end of my block, constantly turning it on and off. And it responded to my signal. So I feel like the antenna thing was a success. I don't know if I lost range or improved range, but I know I have range. I had range before. I don't know if I have less now or more, but I know I have good range, period. There's just, we both know there are other toy grades and some hobby grades that don't have the range that I just experienced outside in the street. And once again, didn't fly it, not even gonna hover it. I'm not concerned about that because I know all the motors spin, all the ESCs still survived. I'm not gonna put this back up in the air until I have these motors mounted in a way that's more secure. And then I'll make another canopy and I'll, go through my camera stuff and all that. But that's good news, man. This thing went through some crashes, and when I lost the antenna, I thought it was a wrap, and apparently it's not, because I got range. I didn't give it any other commands, idle, left, right. I didn't do any of that because I'm just assuming it took the initial on and off, it binds, it's okay. So there we go. Thank you, YouTube. Thanks, Chris. Good times, great stuff. And like I said, I kept my promise. No bashing of any other quadcopters that we think may or may not be pieces of shit, MJX, Bugs 3, pure fucking garbage. But yeah, like I said, we won't be talking about that. Oh, and check this out. This is, what else? XKX 350 this basically is just really stock one, but I reinforced it, put some silicone on the top and the bottom, got some white lights on it, and just to make it a little taller, put on some other landing gear. This landing gear came from some piece of shit. What the fuck? Oh, what landing gear is this? Some fucking unrepairable thing that I used to fuck with and think was cool. Now I fucking can. What was this? Oh, this is Bugs 3 landing gear. Oh, God. Look at that. So, gee.